Hey everyone, it's your girl Amanda Schaefer here, and this is the fifth and final part of reacting to Chad and Jeremy facts. This time, they're going to be talking about each other. There are two separate sheets. I'm sending another thank you to Bear Sam for sending me these. Alright, first, let's hear what Chad has to say. Hello, and guess what? I'm about to, as you Americans can say, spill all the beans on that old bean right over there, namely Jeremy Clyde. How about a day in the life of... Well, here it is, if you can stand it. First off, we are usually traveling and staying in a hotel or motel, so a normal day would start with the phone operator ringing us up to awaken us. She, being no stoop, rings up my room for Jeremy, would never answer. I get up and knock on Jeremy's door yelling something like, "Wake up, Jer! It's 9 a.m. Of course, nothing happens. Then I pound the door and rattle the knob. Then I call the operator and tell her to ring his phone, loud and long. Finally, I break into his room, pull back his covers, splash him with a glass of water, and say sweetly, "The birds are chirping, the sun is up, and it's time to get to work." It's like Jeremy doesn't want to get up. Sort of like me sometimes. I don't like getting up early in the morning. But there are some days where I do it anyhow. Anyway. Jeremy, miracle, opens his eyes, and the next thing I see is a look of pure hatred directed at me. But I don't care. I've succeeded in getting him awake. I feel more proud than the chap who climbed Mount Everest. Because we'd both fall asleep again if we waited for breakfast to be served in our rooms. We repair to the nearest coffee shop or dining room. Jeremy orders ham and eggs and coffee. Between us, he'll eat anything that isn't nailed down, especially if it's a hamburger. Jeremy is a daydreamer. You have to tell him things twice, or they don't register. He seems to be in a fog most of the time. That is, until a nice bird bounces by. Then he becomes quite alert. I've learned to communicate with him through girls. I tell him what I want them to tell him, and he hears it that way. Well, he hears it if he hasn't got a transistor stuck in his ear. He listens to the rock and roll radio stations all day long. I guess he's counting the times they play our records. Maybe. Jeremy is a strange combination. His personality is quite confusing. He is impatient and easily bored. He likes for things to move right along. But when he becomes interested in something, a person or a subject, you can't pull him away from it, or her, as the case may be. For instance, if we are writing a song together, he will not stop until it's finished. If I get tired, I have to plug away until it's done. He won't let up. He even writes songs while flying in a plane. I must admit, his great zeal is inspiring. Honestly. I'll tip you girls to some of the Clyde flirtation manship tricks. He is very polite, full of old world charm, you know. But beware, he has fangs. What is he, a vampire now? I'm only kidding. If a bird is daft enough to want to date him, here's how to conquer his fickle heart. He loves girls who flirt with their eyes. Seriously, but don't overdo it. Look nice, be nice, and talk interestingly. Also, listen interestedly. You never know, he might say something worth hearing. True. In spite of all this, Jeremy has some good points. He is fearless and quite courageous. I saw him plunge into the icy Thames River to rescue a drowning fellow once. Woo! Jeremy Clyde to the rescue. He didn't hesitate for a second when the poor bloke yelled for help. Not many chaps would react like that. He is also quite loyal to his fans and girlfriends. He doesn't go steady, but he truly cares for each girl in his life. He has 3 gold chains around his neck, with 2 rings and 5 medallions on them, all mementos from young ladies. Before you read what Jeremy has to say about me, remember, only the nice things are true. Oh boy. That's quite a lot of stuff you had about Jeremy, Chad, but I still thought they were worth reading about. Okay, now let's hear what Jeremy has to say about Chad. Well, the worm has turned, Chad, me boy. Here is the way it really is. The mornings are terrible for me. In the AM, I feel like death warmed up. And Chad, he loves to torture me. Like how my dad likes to make fun of my mom and I sometimes, but he does it for a laugh, not to be mean though. He's a regular friend. Luckily, he doesn't come into focus until about midday, when I actually do begin to wake up, so I'm spared his dreadful continuance for at least part of the day. I'll eat anything, he says. Well, he nearly drives me wiggy with his calorie counting. You see, Jill, Chad's lovely bride, is a model, and, as you know, model girls are always dieting, so she has Chad dieting too. But after skipping all those foods, you see, he pops out the vitamin bottle and fills up on them. Jeez. Just doesn't make sense, I say. Shall I tell Jill that he sneaks fudge sundaes on the QT? I don't know. You can if you want to. I may be mad on pop, but Chad is actually almost pompous about music sometimes. He's gone on classical music and listens to it as though it were a sort of ethereal experience. He also likes some kind of Oriental Indian music that completely throws me. It takes all kinds, I suppose. Oof, kind of like how George Harrison took a liking to Indian music. I have to watch Chad carefully to keep slipping quietly into quote-unquote middle age. He started wearing waistcoats, vests, I think you Americans call them, and has a watch with a long gold chain draped from pocket to pocket across his chest. And he smokes cigars. Honest. Chad Stewart, dear girls, is completely accident-prone. Samples are that he recently slammed one finger in the door and later cut another trying to get some stupid ring off it. Ugh, jeez. Maybe he subconsciously doesn't like playing the guitar. But he plays it anyhow. Chad has a marvelous way of just wandering off in moments of great crisis. For instance, if we are all in a new town, we hang around the stage for 5 hours, say, finally comes the only 5 minutes we have to rehearse with the musicians. Chad is no longer by my side, and no one can find him anywhere. Uh-oh, where'd he go? When the 5 minutes are up, he usually wanders aimlessly back into view, with no explanation as to why he suddenly vanished. He also is a ridiculous camera nut. He bought a camera for Jill, which she hasn't been able to wrest from his grip, needless to say, and has been shooting anything that didn't shoot him first. Once he leaned merrily out of the car window and snapped away at some unsuspecting trees while we were going 70 miles per hour. Can't wait to see those pics. Well, I'll fess to Chad's good points while we're on the subject. He is so very good with the terrific young people who are our admirers and fans. We consider them friends. Aww. He'll hold up a plane or stop a train if a fan wants an autograph or a bit of a chat. I like that. Musically, he is quite a chap too. He really does know it all. I wonder if he's guessed that yet that I actually fake all the chords. What? Best thing, though, is the way Chad keeps me in line. I'm really a muddlehead, and, while I complain, I really appreciate the way he goes about getting me to do the things I should do. If you're not scared of us by all this raving, do drop us a line, and Chad and Jeremy, yours truly, ma'am, will promise to reply. Write to us in care of Freeman Sutton, 6606 Sunset Boulevard, California. Wow. I liked what Jeremy said about Chad. That was very well said indeed. Okay, so that marks the end of my reacting to facts bit about pretty much whatever I had. Is there anything that Chad said about Jeremy or that Jeremy said about Chad that you found interesting or that blew your mind? Comment them down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll be back with more material soon. Have a great week, everyone.